Looks like you're live and good to go.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March 29th special meeting, public hearing on the mayor's recommended FY22 budget. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, if I could ask you to please call the roll.
Councilman Gary Donovan,
Councilman Gary Donovan, Council at Large, present.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor,
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor, Council at Large, here.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky,
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky, First District, present.
Councilman William X. Conlon,
Councilman William X. Conlon, Second District, present.
Councilwoman Elizabeth Johnston,
Councilwoman Liz Johnston, Third District, present.
Councilman Mitchell Galagnano,
Councilman Mitchell Gallagher, 4th District, present.
Councilwoman Robin Hamilton,
Councilwoman Robin Hamilton, 5th District, present.
Councilman Peter Massaro,
Councilman Peter Massaro, 6th District, present.
Councilwoman Trinae McGee,
Councilwoman Trinae McGee, 7th District, present.
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli,
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli, 8th District, present.
Councilman Robert Bruno,
Councilman Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Barry Lee Cohen,
Councilman Barry Lee Cohen, 10th District, present.
and Chairman Ronald Quagliani.
Council at Large Ron Quagliani, present.
We have a full house.
Thank you, Stacy. If I could ask you to please read the call of the special meeting into the record.
West Haven City Council notice agenda of special meeting on March 29th, 2021 notice. In accordance with the city charter, chapter 19, section 4, the city council of the city of West Haven will conduct a public hearing on Monday, March 29th, 2021 at 6 p.m. via electronic means in accordance with the city council rule number 30, at which time any elector or taxpayer may have the opportunity to be heard regarding appropriations for fiscal year July 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022. Public participation. The city council will conduct this public hearing via electronic means. The public must submit their comments to be read April 2nd via one of the following methods. Option 1, submit comments in writing, 1 page maximum via US mail. Comment should be sealed in a regular envelope with a complete return address with your full name and mailed to 355 Main Street, West Haven, Connecticut 06516. Attention, West Haven City Council. Option 2, submit comments via email, 1 page maximum to mdemassa@westhaven-ct.gov. Please include your email, comments, your full name, and mailing address. This meeting may be viewed live starting at 6 p.m. on the City of West Haven's YouTube page, which can be accessed via www.cityofwesthaven.com. Electors are also hereby notified of the right power of the electorate in regards to a referendum in accordance with the city charter, chapter 18, section 2. There you go.
Thank you, Stacy. I believe an addendum or amendment notice was put out changing that April 2nd date to March 29th.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I don't know. My paper just said April 2nd. So
All right.
sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, item 5 on the agenda. Before we get to any remarks that the mayor may have, I'd just like to remind the public that will watch this or that are watching this is that the mayor's recommended budget is posted on the City of West Haven website, so residents can peruse the budget at their leisure by accessing that link. If the residents do not have internet access, they can call the council office and speak to our administrative assistant, Mike DeMassa, who can assist them with getting access to a budget. That said, I'll turn it over to Mayor Rossi if she has any remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to read my budget address into the meeting this evening, because as you know, I did give it a couple of weeks ago, but I just want to make sure the public and whoever is on is able to understand, what is in the budget. I'm hopeful that they all got copies or took it off of online, our website. Dear Chairman Quagliani, members of the City Council and residents of the City of West Haven. As required by and in compliance with the West Haven City Charter, it is my pleasure to present my recommended operating budget for fiscal year 2022, which begins on July 1st, 2021 and ends on June 30th, 2022. I am pleased to submit a conservative but fiscally responsible budget that will keep the city and Allentown Fire District mill rate constant. In 2020, West Haven conducted the state mandated reevaluation, which is required of every municipality every 5 years. The grand list increased by $312.5 million citywide. The value of our taxable property has now passed $3 billion. The grand list has increased 3 consecutive years. With the reevaluation, the city will move the mill rate downward to adjust for the significant increase in property values. The fiscal year 2021 mill rate was 37.48, and I am recommending a reduced mill rate of 34 mills. The Allentown Fire District mill rate was 14.02, and I'm recommending 10.91 mills. As you know, the City of West Haven fell under oversight of the Municipal Accountability Review Board, MARB, on December 4th, 2017, because of deficit bonding in 2017 by the prior administration. The MARB oversight included state restructuring grants that began with $8 million in FY18 and are due to phase out in fiscal year 2022. The city has 3 consecutive balanced budgets and audits, all with positive results. The MARB has been a necessary partner over the last 3 years. I have removed the final year of MARB funding in the amount of $2 million from my recommended budget. It would be irresponsible to take this funding when our financial outlook is so positive. The governor's recommended budget submitted to the state legislature in February included an additional $4.972 million in stimulus funding for West Haven. The General Assembly also passed 3-tiered payment in lieu of tax program pilot, which if funded will generate additional state funding to compensate the city for lost revenue related to non-taxable organizations. This funding is not included in the recommended budget because the state budget is not finalized or approved. The City of West Haven was earmarked in President Biden's American Rescue Plan, ARP, to receive approximately $18.76 million in federal funding. 50% of this funding will be available within 60 days and the other 50% will follow. This funding can be used through December 31st, 2024. I have included $1.575 million of this federal funding in my recommended budget designated as American Rescue Plan. This funding is approved for use and will come directly to the city through a community development block grant. The $1.575 million equates to 8% of the ARP funding that is available for West Haven. The Board of Education will directly receive an additional $20.9 million from the ARP for COVID-19 related educational expenses. I have received guidance from our federal legislators, which confirm the purpose and scope of this funding is to provide immediate relief and assistance to our residents. This budget is balanced, responsible, and will be sustained now and in future fiscal years. We have to be cautious and vigilant with the use of this new state and federal stimulus money. Much of this new funding is one-time and non-recurring revenue and should not fund ongoing municipal operations or the permanent expansion of programs. This funding will be used as directed by the American Rescue Act for expenses relative to COVID-19, revenue loss, and for sewer, water, and broadband projects. We have worked together to successfully change the financial and budget culture in West Haven, which now gives us the opportunity to focus on other important priorities, which include addressing our aging infrastructure, removing blight in our city, revitalizing our parks, athletic fields, and other city properties. We will initiate these improvements while completing the many current infrastructure and school construction projects already underway. With developers and investors gaining more confidence in West Haven and the growing interest in our recent state-approved enterprise zone, I'm confident West Haven will continue to move forward, creating additional economic development opportunities in the future. I look forward to working with the City Council over the next several weeks to pass a budget that will not only continue our progress, but will allow us to invest in education, public safety, and infrastructure, and continue to improve our quality of life for all of our residents. In conclusion, I would like to thank our Finance Director, Department of Finance, and department heads for assisting me in compiling the data and information that was necessary for this comprehensive budget document. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Rossi. Next up, we have Finance Director Frank Czaplinski with us to give us an overview of the FY22 budget and 5-year capital plan. Frank, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Please do.
Let me know when you can see it.
We could see it.
Okay, great. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's my pleasure to present to you an overview of the fiscal 2022 operating budget for the city of West Haven. So some items to note: the tax collection rate we are holding at 98.4%. The grand list, as the mayor has indicated, is up by almost 12%. It's up over $3 billion, and that is a result of the revaluation process that happened. The $2 million of MARB restructuring funds have been removed from the revenue projections and have been replaced by $1.5 million from the American Recovery Plan. We do have a detailed 5-year capital plan included with the budget document, and this does adhere to the financial recovery plan as submitted to the MARB. Board of Education, as funded from the city, remains flat to last year. Any increases to the Board of Education costs are going to be covered by expected increases in alliance funds. And finally, all actuarially determined contributions, or ADEC, to the pension plans are included in the budget at 100%. So just a quick overview of the revenues. You can see that the state-sourced revenues, we are maintaining a flat year-over-year estimate. The governor's budget has not been officially released yet. There are indications that there could be additional pilot funds coming in, but until I actually see the numbers in a document from the state, it's prudent not to include any additional revenues in this budget process. And so with that being said, the local revenues coming from taxation are increasing year over year. The driver of that is the fact that the revenues that we're getting from the state or federal sources, that being the ARP, are dropping by $2 million over the current year. So that $2 million is being made up by local taxation, which brings the percentage of revenues from taxes to roughly 62.6%. And that is an increase, of course, over last year as those federal and state funds are removed. So this is a breakdown of the revenues. You can see in the MARB/Recovery Act, there is a decrease of $2.5 million. That number is being offset up above. You can see the $2.1 million of property taxation. Some of the items to note is that we are showing a very small income stream from the use of money. This is the investment of funds with the state, with the STIF. As you have seen, I'm sure, in your own personal CDs or investments, cash investments, the return on that has drastically dropped to well under 1%. So we have dropped those projections. You could see In fiscal 19 and fiscal 20, we actually brought in north of $300,000. That is not expected to turn around in the immediate future. So we have included a very small number in the fiscal 22 budget. The other financing sources is dropping by $250,000 almost. That is money that's being transferred from the sewer fund to the city general fund to cover the debt service being paid by the city on behalf of the sewer department. That clean water fund money is coming to an end. There should only be a couple more years of it, so each year that income or financing source will get smaller and smaller to offset a smaller and smaller expense exposure. Just a history of the mill rate. You can see from fiscal 11 to fiscal 22, the two large jumps that you see between fiscal 12 and 13, and again between 17 and 18, were the result of the revaluations that happened during those years. In both of those years, the grand list decreased. So in order to maintain the same tax revenue, the mill rate needed to increase. So in these years, you can see the increase from 31.25 to 35.26. 1.36 mil increase was due to operations. 2.65 was because the grand list had contracted. That is just the opposite as we go from fiscal 21 to fiscal 22. We are seeing less than a mil increase due to operations and a 4.3 mil decrease because of the increase in the grand list. All right. So again, a good story. Hopefully this will drive future investment in the city and help us to increase that grand list even more. So as we look at the expenditures, the breakdown, Board of Education continues to be nearly 57% of the city budget. This number does include not only the operating costs being supported by the city, but also the Board of Ed's portion of the debt service being paid by the city on the projects of their behalf. Remaining city debt continues to remain stable at roughly 9%, just under 9%. And public safety and public works remain at nearly 10% and roughly 7%. Healthcare is actually coming down a little bit. We are seeing some favorability since we've moved to the partnership plan. The volatility in the year-over-year expenses related to healthcare have reduced. So we are seeing some favorability there. These numbers have been derived from the state guidance for the premiums as well as from locked-in for healthcare related to our retirees who are still part of the self-insurance plan. So as we take a high-level look at where the money is being spent, you can see that we are reinvesting the savings that we're seeing in debt service. We're reinvesting that back into the city as we hire positions, fill positions that are open, that have been identified as critical and need to be filled. So using those savings to pay for any additional costs related to that, so that we are cost neutral as far as the overall city is concerned. A very minor increase in total expenditures of $100,000, and that is, of course, being generated, covered by the additional revenues that are coming in. So, as we talked about the headcount additions, these are the 5 that are noted in the budget book. The first is in personnel. We are hiring an HR generalist. This individual will help to fill in some of the gaps in the personnel department that have been identified by the payroll and HR study. This position is expected by the MARB, and it is needed. We have an addition into finance. This is administrative clerk. We've been written up on prior audits where some of the records within finance need to be maintained in a better fashion. So this individual will aid with maintaining the accounts payable records. This person will assist with the bid documents for purchasing, maintaining all of that, maintaining all state and federal grant documents and aiding the grants writer with that. And as I said, this position does close a gap that was identified in prior audits. We have a network supervisor in addition to the IT manager that was hired this year. This individual will provide on-site technical support in added capacity to any technical issues, and it's going to reduce the need for outside consulting fees, bringing in an outside consultant for routine maintenance and routine needs. In the public safety sector, we are planning on hiring another patrol officer, and within social services, we are hiring a commissioner. This position has previously been left vacant and filled on a as needed or as time permitted basis by the personnel commissioner. So the need to fill that spot, the mayor and I feel that we need to hire that individual this year. As we look at debt service, you can see that there is a reduction in the current year to the debt service over fiscal 21. This is as projects come to the end of their payoff period. Just as in normal accounting, items of longer life, for example, the West Haven High School project, the building project, the bonding on that will be paid off over 20 years, whereas something like a roof may be 10 years, police vehicles are normally paid off over 5, and any hardware related to IT infrastructure is paid off over 3 years. So with the detailed listing from the bond advisor, we are able to project what the debt service is going to be over the next 3 years using the 5-year capital plan and using the appropriate time period. One thing to note is that in fiscal 23, we are expecting to see a very large drop in the debt service as the police pension bond has come to maturity at the end of this year, or fiscal 22. The goal is to take that drop and use those funds to reinforce and build the general fund balance. And then going forward, you can see that fiscal 24 and 25, the debt service will increase again. That is a direct result of the high school project and the Washington School rebuild that are being layered in, and you'll have those details in your 5-year capital plan. So you can see for the top 5 bonding projects, and this is not all in one year, this is spread over fiscal 22 to 26. West Haven High School, we have $19.5 million still to bond for. The projection from the superintendent for Washington School is just over $16 million. Ongoing paving needs over those years would be $3.2 million, $1.8 million for the Ken Strong Stadium. The turf and the track need to be replaced. And the police chief is requesting $1.3 million spread over the remaining 5 years to replace traffic control signal boxes at the intersections and make vehicular traffic much safer. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we did receive detailed submissions from each department head, and I'd like to thank those department heads for the thought they put into it. As far as vehicle goes, from Bob Orifice and from the police department, they identified the vehicles themselves by license number so that we know which vehicles are being replaced in which year. They have spread those out over the 5 years as they require them. As noted, the bonding includes the remaining $19.5 million as well as the 16 for Washington. And what I'm proposing is that all software upgrades needed going forward and in the current year be treated as operational expense, or in this case, through the capital non-recurring, rather than bonding for it. I would prefer to bond the hardware over the software. And if allowed, I would even take the hardware through capital non-recurring, because by definition, anyone who's bought a computer, as soon as you get it home, it's obsolete. The next versions are coming out again. So expected bonding for the next 5 years. This corresponds to the budget that is out on the website, beginning on page 120. So you can see in fiscal 22 and 23, as well as 24, those are the school projects. That is the high school project, as well as Washington School, being spread over those 3 years. The remaining 2 years cover various vehicles and equipment that are being replaced as part of the capital plan. As we turn to Allentown, just to give a quick overview, one thing to note is that last year we did receive $900,000 obtained to us through Representative DeMassa. We were notified this year that $960,000 will continue in fiscal 22, 23, and 24. So it has been laid into the budget. The only difference is that last year we took a very large part of that and added it to the healthcare. At this point, we have not. The MARB has indicated that it would be prudent to do so, but that is for your deliberations as we go forward. So you can see the reduction in overall cost to the department, as well as the monies being taken from the property taxes as we reduce the mill rate in Allentown. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the high-level update for the budget. I look forward to the upcoming meetings with the Finance Department and the rest of the council and the department heads as we review the budget in detail.
Frank, thank you very much. And how you laid it out was very informative and will help us in our deliberations going forward. And I'm sure it'll help the residents see the various pieces of the budget as well. So again, thank you. Okay, next up will be our public hearing session. I can ask Stacy to probably take a drink of water and then read the letters that we have into the record.
Okay. All right. Our first letter is from Patty Fusco, 311 Shingle Hill Road, West Haven. I'm writing to ask you to support the West Haven Public Library's budget. The library is an important asset to the city. It provides residents the opportunity to borrow books, magazines, DVDs, and now also laptops and hotspots. This has proven to be a lifesaver to many families who cannot afford internet and devices on their own. During this time of COVID, many families have chosen to keep their children home and work from home if they can. Not all can afford their own devices, and although the school system provides devices to the children who need them, the internet access is not included. So these hot spots have been a lifeline to them. My husband and I are avid readers. We each read several books a month. Being able to get most of those books from the library for free has enabled us to read all the titles we want to. If we had to buy those books, we would have had to limit what we read for financial reasons. Because the library is part of the Lion system, we can borrow books from many different libraries and pick them up at our library. This has really widened our access to reading materials. Although the library has had to limit access due to COVID, I know many people who rely on the library to use the internet to do research or just as a social outlet. The library has adopted and has been creative in their offerings. Many activities have been offered where you pick up your own materials and then go online to take part in making the craft or participating in the discussion. Story hours, which many parents and kids rely on for entertainment and stimulation, are still being offered via YouTube and FaceTime. Book discussion groups take place via Zoom, as well as meditation groups and knitting and crocheting groups. These help people to stay connected even though they are not able to get out and gather in person. We plan to attend a session they are offering on how to stream TV and thus save money on cable. The library is always offering programs to help people to improve their skills on their lifestyles. This is truly the poor man's university. Please keep their funding so they can continue to make our community stronger and better informed. Thank you, Patty Fusco. And our second letter is from Mary Melenda, 15 Highview Avenue, West Haven. Dear City Council members, as a member of the board of the Village Improvement Association, I'm very interested in the continuing successful operation of the West Haven libraries. As you know, our libraries have continued to provide essential services to our community in spite of the ongoing pandemic. My family and I have used the services of the library constantly since moving to West Haven in 1972. I consider the library to be essential to the well-being of the community. I want to urge you to approve Mayor Rossi's budget for the library without any cuts. Since we are involved in trying to find a location for a library in Allentown section, it is important that line item now labeled Allentown lease be renamed Allentown expense. I believe that it is extremely important that the library be reopened in Allentown as soon as possible. Thank you, Mary Melenda. This one is from John Galvin, 40 Crest Street, Unit 19, West Haven. Dear City Council members, I come before you as the president of the Village Improvement Association. As you know, the VIA is mandated by the city charter to operate the library department. Your recent survey has proven our ability to do so efficiently. The VIA remains committed to providing an increased service to our entire community. The VIA is heartened by the improved relationship between the parties which has occurred this year. I am sure this will continue to improve and strive to achieve our mutual goals. We are committed to the restoration of a library in the Allentown section. I wish to thank Mayor Rossi for her support of our next year's budget. I urge you to approve the requested amount without any cuts. The mayor has requested a $50,000 line item for a lease in Allentown. We request this line be renamed Allentown expense rather than lease. The VIA is actively seeking a land for a permanent library. City Attorney Tiernan is working with our attorney on several options for our mutual benefit. Our budget request reflects a reduction in services due to the COVID crisis. I remind you, we are open to the public approximately 2/3 of our former hours. We offer services for all ages and backgrounds. Just this year, we added online services such as homework help. I urge you to visit our website to see for yourself the vast array of services we provide. We look forward to continuing our positive relationship. Thank you for your consideration of my comments. John Galvin, President, Village Improvement Association. And then we have one from Lynn Zafino, 124 Milton Avenue, West Haven. Dear Representative DeMassa, I am sending this email in support of the West Haven Library's budget. As a librarian myself, I know firsthand how important libraries are to their communities. They provide many valuable resources, including health information and job search tools, as well as access to Wi-Fi and other technology. They also offer programs of educational and cultural relevance. These things are needed now more than ever. Please vote to fully fund the West Haven Library. Sincerely, Lynn Zafino. This one is from Louis Chavez Brumel, 582 Ocean Avenue, Apartment A, West Haven. Hi, I am Louis Chavez Brumel, 582 Ocean Avenue, Apartment A, West Haven, Connecticut 06516. As a West Haven resident and former library employee, I have given and received help on job applications, book recommendations, and internet access. The West Haven Public Library is a crucial community resource that must be fully funded. Thanks for this consideration. We have one from William Carew, 103K Road. Please let the library run the library. There is no need to micromanage this department. William Carew. Next one is from Ellen Mitchell, 300 Elm Street. Greetings. I'm so thankful to be able to get books from our library to read. It is also a social contact for me and many other elderly citizens of West Haven. Not to fully fund the library would be such a disappointment. Thank you, Ellen Mitchell. This one is from Louis Diorio, 14 Laurel Place, West Haven. Good morning. I am writing to support the full library budget that is proposed. I use the library all the time and have done so for years. It was a lifeline during this pandemic. The library helps everyone in our town. It's open to all age groups and it's free. Please do not reduce their already limited budget. Thanks, Louis Diorio. And this one is from Gwen Haley, 690 Forest Road, number 362, West Haven. Dear Mr. DeMassa, I am writing in support of our library. On top of COVID, this was a very hard year for me and my friends and neighbors in Allington because of the loss of our branch library. I hope you will remember neighbors like me as you consider the library budget. The library is a significant part in the lives of so many of us. Be well. Signed, Gwen Haley. And this one is from Karen Shanley, 2 Cedar Lane, West Haven. I would like to add my name to those calling for sustainable funding of the West Haven Public Library, including the Allentown location. I have been a longtime user of the library for myself and for my family. I love taking my son to the library where he could have a varied experience with all the different types of books, selecting just a few to borrow and take home. As a family, when we travel, I would frequently get books on tape and then CD for us to share on car trips. Most recently, I am a frequent user of the electronic apps to borrow books and magazines. Not only do I wish the library to continue to offer a range of services for myself, but also for the citizens throughout West Haven. Signed, Karen Shanley. And this one is from Jacqueline Massicco, 300 Elm Street. I have been a homeowner and resident of West Haven since 2009. I have enjoyed the library and I fully support our libraries, and it is very important to me that our libraries are fully funded. Many times I have a book on hold at Orr Mason Library. It is so convenient to pick up and return to the book drop. I like being able to take out a DVD and have attended some of the classes at Orr Mason. Thank you. This one is from Lorraine Carr, 29 Lake Street, West Haven. Hello, I support our local libraries 100%. My family uses Orr Mason Library often, and it would be horrible if it no longer received monetary support. I know that COVID has knocked out some of their business. However, I feel we'll be through this soon. I prefer reading a real book, not looking at one online. Students use the computers for schoolwork. Some may not have Wi-Fi at home. Seniors use the computers and the library as a safe place to be around other people. Thank you for your consideration of saving our libraries. Regards, Lori Carr. This one is from Michael A. Invernell, PhD, 300 Elm Street. Hello, this library has been an amazing resource for the city and its inhabitants since well before this pandemic. I used it fondly in school as a child, and I passed it daily for many years. Since this pandemic, it has not only maintained its usefulness to the community, it has done so responsibly, affording access to information for people in the most dire time of need in any of our lifetimes. Further, it has done so with less funds than it should have had in order to achieve these tasks. The West Haven Library is a necessary piece of the bedrock of this community. Thank you for your time. Take care and stay safe. This one is from Barbara Dunn, 58 Tyler Street, West Haven. I'm writing in support of funding for the West Haven Public Library. When my daughter was younger, we constantly used the library resources, from story time to book clubs as she became a preteen. I think all West Haven kids should have the same advantage that she did. Please find money in the budget to adequately run the library and offer programs to the residents. Thank you. This one is from Faye Hall, 300 Elm Street, West Haven. It is very important to the library that the libraries remain open. Many seniors, including myself, rely on the library for informational sources. Living on Social Security leaves little money for purchasing books or buying movies. Those of us with limited physical activity or socialization rely on reading as entertainment and education. They also provide movies that we can enjoy, especially during the hard times of this virus. Many of us also don't have the technology to read or watch movies on phones or computers. We have access to email only, not only the bells and whistles. I have asked younger people to look online for specific books that are now outdated and not sold. These can usually be found at the library. Closing the libraries or defunding will force us to lose a lifeline for seniors and people of low income that can't afford all the fancy technology that you enjoy. Once, can't someone consider the seniors? Thank you. This one's a long one. This is from Colleen Bailey, 300 Elm Street, West Haven. Dear members of the City Council and Mayor Rossi, I am encouraged this year to see the library's proposed budget was not decreased and became the mayor's recommended budget. The library has been open to the public since July of 2020 with security and safety protocols in place due to the pandemic. Due to our protocols and some good luck, we haven't had to close since reopening on July 1st. We plan on continuing these costly safety protocols as long as necessary, so the $50,000 allocated for the library will be spent accordingly. The pandemic has highlighted how vital library services are to our community. Our virtual and physical availability gave access to patrons who made use of our services. The library immediately switched to online programming for topics ranging from virtual story times and home buying seminars to how-to videos for creating resumes and how to use your library card for digital content. We had to rethink how to safely serve the public by introducing a variety of accessible modes, such as parking lot pickup and Zoom one-on-one technology help. The state provided funds to assist with COVID relief that was used for deep cleaning of the library. New easily cleaned furniture, hand sanitizer stations, and glass barriers to protect the patrons and the staff. Connecticut Education Network, at no cost to West Haven Public Library, provided outdoor wireless capabilities to allow the patrons the ability to use our Wi-Fi during off hours. Due to last year's budget cuts by City Council, we are unable to open the pre-pandemic hours this year. Much of our savings are due not to filling 4 full-time positions. With the mayor's allocated budget, we will be able to open again to pre-pandemic hours and stay open Saturdays in July and August, which has not occurred in 4 years. The budget number that was requested this year does not reflect library expenses in Allentown, which we lost in July of 2020 when the building was sold. As a library assessment has shown, a library is needed in Allentown, and we are working with City Council to find suitable space as quickly as possible. The library board has researched and debated numerous locations in Allentown. Renting and purchasing buildings and bookmobiles were explored as options. In light of the variety of possible modalities, they have not yet been decided on. I would like to see the wording for the $50,544 allocated from the Allentown lease to Allentown Library expenses. This will free the library to provide for the currently unforeseen needs of Allentown quickly and effectively. It has been a pleasure working closely with the City Council this year on the library assessment and funding a new home for the Allentown Library. I look forward to continuing this collaboration for years to come. A well-funded library serves everyone, and West Haven residents deserve a library system that works for them. Thank you. And our last one is from Catherine Bushman, Assistant Director, MLS, West Haven Public Library, 300 Elm Street, West Haven. Dear City Council members, thanks to the recent results of the third-party library assessment by the Rethinking Libraries organization, we received unbiased feedback from what the citizens of West Haven expect. West Haven residents asked for diversity in the library collection, timely access to the bestseller books and DVDs, for the library to be open for more hours at all of the locations, more homebound access by the library van, more quiet study areas, more programs for all age groups. Moving forward, the library will address each of these areas aimed to increase patron satisfaction. This will be made possible by approving the mayor's library budget. The assessment has shown that the library director, Colleen Bailey, is very efficient compared to other libraries in relative socioeconomic situations. The library staff is very talented and work hard to provide all of what West Haven residents expect. What is holding us back from meeting patrons' needs has been the funding level of the past 5 years. This year, Mayor Rossi has not cut the library budget further. She has approved the amount that Colleen Bailey has requested for fiscal year 2022 of $1,521,544. This amount will fund the library to be open more hours. $50,000 was earmarked for spending on COVID expenses, and another $50,499 was allocated towards a lease in Allentown. The wording of the Allentown amount is for a lease. Though leasing is an option, there are other avenues to explore, such as purchasing land or a building for the library. I'm asking for a change of the wording that allows for a larger variety of choices to be available while keeping the same amount of allocation. Thank you, Catherine Bushman. And those are all our letters this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Stacy, for reading those letters into the record. Next up is Chairman's remarks. I just want to take a minute to review for the residents the charter required budget process so that they could be informed and view the process as it moves forward. The mayor presented the council the FY22 recommended budget on Thursday, March 18th. The council's public hearing on the proposed budget is what we're doing tonight. If members of the public still would like to comment on the budget, they could do so by sending their comments via mail or email to our admin, Michael DeMassa, and those comments will be read into the record at an upcoming regular city council meeting. Procedures on how to do this can be found on the City Council web page on the City of West Haven website. Consistent with our current City Council procedures, this meeting and all meetings are streamed live on the City of West Haven's YouTube channel. Residents can either view the meeting live or view it at their leisure at a later time, as the meeting will be archived. The City Council will hold several Finance Committee meetings with department heads throughout the month of April. The council has until the first Thursday in May to either pass the mayor's budget as recommended or as presented, or pass an amended budget with any changes the council may make. This budget also needs to be approved by the MARB. So the City Council looks forward to beginning the budget sessions and the continued input from our residents. That being said, I will look for a motion to adjourn. Councilwoman Hosky, seconded by Councilwoman O'Connor, Councilman Bruno. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much and have a good rest of the evening.